Welcome to the Trails Committee meeting tonight, October 26, 2022, and calling the meeting to order at 7:33. We'll do a roll call vote. Satyendra Sharma,
Yes, present.
Tom McCoolier,
Yes.
and Will Warren,
Yes.
and Kat McKee. And let the record show right now, Sati, just for your purposes, we don't have any visitors. Okay, so the agenda first up is approve the minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity? Thank you, Sati, got them done very early and we circulated them early, and maybe we're on a new trend early. So any feedback, thoughts, or questions on the minutes?
Just one change in section 11 at the bottom. It should be today's date. The next meeting was for today.
Second.
Yeah, should be.
I should have had them up.
That's fine. It's just it's a small thing, but we probably should correct that.
Important.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, next meeting, yes.
Thank you.
That's all I
Wednesday.
had.
Thank you for catching that. Oh, we'll go to 26. Two. Nice. Okay, so does someone want to make a motion to approve the minutes from September 27th, 2022?
I move that we approve the minutes.
Okay, do we
I
have a
second it.
Thank you, and let's do roll call. Satyendra Sharma,
Yes,
Will Warren,
Yes,
Tom McCoolier,
Yes.
and Kat McKee, yes. Great. So motion passes. Thank you. Next up is the DCR MOA Trails Agreement status update. So we sent back our red lines to DCR that had been aligned with the Westboro Community Land Trust and Sudbury Valley trustees. We've not heard back from them yet on that. So I will follow up and see if we get an update. I do believe we need that agreement in place before we can do the work that we need to do for the grant. So hopefully we're close, but you never know when these things can take a little bit longer than we need.
did you get any feedback about the indemnification?
No, nothing from DCR yet.
Okay,
So next up is a guided history hike recap. So I think Will, you were there, Sati, you were there, Tom, you weren't there, and Isabella was there. And I
Yes,
was
yes.
there. It was very successful. So what did you guys think that the others, and I'll save my 2 cents for the last one.
I thought it was just wonderful.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how many people showed up. And, you know, people seem to be, all the comments I heard were very favorable about the trail.
Mm.
And, you know, I think people are looking forward to the trail being even longer. That'll be great.
Mhm,
You know, and wrapping around the reservoir.
mhm. Yeah. People asked a lot of good questions.
yeah, that is important. Yeah, they're really interested in, the history.
Yeah, very much so. And people came up to us at Heritage Day and continued the good feedback. So it was really great to hear that. And so I asked Andy Leahy, the ranger who hosted the hike, if he would be open to doing that, and DCR open to doing that once a year, and they are. So I think we can make it. And if we wanted to do Heritage Day, I was really quite surprised at how many people attended, given it was Heritage Day weekend, Columbus Day too, and Indigenous People Day weekend. So I thought people would be out of town, but we had more registrations on this hike than we've ever had on any hike. We had up to 56. So we had, and that's maybe 56 to 7, because we had people on the wait list, and then we had some cancellations at the end. So, and not everyone showed up, but that's the most we've ever capped it at 50, because we didn't want more people. Isn't necessarily better when you're doing a guided hike like this. So, it turns out we had almost, I think 38, 39 people that attended in person. So it was really great.
Andy does a good job too.
Yeah, he
So
does.
kudos to him.
Does. And we should connect with him on the signage, the interpretive signage that we end up doing, and seeing what we can incorporate of his, he's got some great pictures, and his information is really helpful and useful. And, again, like I am interested in learning a little bit about, more about how the people were impacted that lived there, where their houses were purchased and they had to move or whatever happened to them. I think there's a community near the Quabbin that had, they underwent the same thing, and there's a little memorial there. I have not been there, but I thought it might be useful if we went on a trip where any of us could go out there at any time. I can get the name of it. And they have little markers up, historical markers, representing the history that was there. And it might be nice to see something like how they presented their information and see if there's anything we can.
I am surprised you haven't been out there, Catherine.
I know, I go north or I don't.
But yes, there was I think 3 towns that got completely displaced and no longer exist at the Quabbin.
Yeah, so that would be good to take a look at and see what they're doing. But yeah, so thanks everyone for coming and participating. And
the only thing that was maybe a little bit disappointing to me was just that I thought there was more of a sidewalk all the way from where we park the cars to the crossing there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of sections on that particular stretch where there really isn't any sidewalk.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
And
it's
that's why
kind
the parking is very important on the
Yeah.
outside.
it's kind of good that people got to experience the fright firsthand. And Tom, we actually at last minute called the Southborough Police Department and asked them to help us cross. So they were gracious and sent a couple of officers and blocked off the road. And even though they blocked it off, someone sped through their blockade at the light while we were crossing. I mean, they didn't hit anybody, but someone just like, nope, I'm gonna go. It was just, so we did mention that at the beginning, like when you see this come up for funding, think about it, about what you're about to experience and how important it is, because that intersection is dangerous. There is no sidewalk. So it is on a complete street list, a sidewalk list, but there's a prioritization of those. So it may get done one day, but as you know, that the way the road is currently structured, you wouldn't technically be able to bring a sidewalk all the way down unless you change the end of the road to make it maybe 1 lane and have that sidewalk available. And then you run into the whole issue of that corner, that intersection is not quite up to code. So as soon as you touch it, you have to bring it up to code. So that's where the crosswalk expense comes into play, that, that $500,000 quote we received, if that does need to change. So that might be more of a longer term plan, like 10-year plan, 20-year plan, I don't know. But we'll keep pushing for it. And that intersection should be on a capital plan list. I haven't heard back from them on next steps. I get the feeling that no one's really rushing to push that forward just yet, because it is so expensive. And there's a lot of other
Sure.
things.
Sure.
Well, the new crosswalk that has been funded, I think the $15,000 crosswalk. That one, I think, that should be very nice. That should also be an alternate way for people to access it that has more parking associated with it.
Absolutely. That will be the primary, once we get that parking in, I think that would be a primary location for people to park, and we should encourage it. And yeah, so we'll talk to DPW about the timing of that. Now that there's a changing of the leadership with DPW, we do need to reach out to Karen and confirm the in-kind support for the 2 handicap spots at the gate area off of Central Street. Make sure that is something that they can help us with next year, because that's part of our match for the grant. So I actually don't know, this kind of jumps ahead a little bit to number 7, the Mass Trails grant stuff, but
Did you say Karen Gallagher?
Galligan.
Gallagher?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm telling
So-
stories out of school here, but I thought I heard that she has resigned.
She is resigning and it's
Okay.
effective 60 days. So in
Okay.
January, she will be, that's what I'm referring to, is that we want to make sure that the in-kind support that she had offered for that and the crosswalk, gets translated to the new leadership so that we still get what we have, been promised and that it's still on someone's radar. But the in-kind support, so I guess when we think about the $50,000 on the grant, I submitted the initial paperwork and had to go through the town. So Mark Purple has to sign the contracts, and then Brian Ballantyne had to provide the electronic funds transfer information, and there's some other forms that we had to provide to the state as phase one. And in all of their documentation, even though it's a 20% match, they're using 25. They're asking us to use the percentage 0.25, to calculate the match. And I'm not sure why, because it's not 25, it's supposed to be 20, but all the documentation they have a built-in formula for you and they use 25. So I'm going to ask a few more questions about why that is, why they're doing that. I'm just not quite sure. And so then my question would be for us, we talked about using the fence and the signage, which came to about 50,000, it was just under 50, as what we'd use the grant for. That was the easiest. But we have to figure out what is going to be the match, right? Is it going to be, it will be partially our hours that we dedicate to the project. So anytime when the clock starts, which it hasn't started yet, anytime we speak in these meetings, we each will track our time to that. Any site visits we have with contractors, any other time spent planning and executing will be in-kind support, but we need to come up with something else. And I don't know if perhaps it could also be the parking, the ADA parking.
It could be that the crosswalk at Sanofi.
It isn't Sanofi. I think it is Sanofi. I think it is, because I think
Okay.
I forget what I saw a commercial and they pronounced it. I was like, oh.
Okay.
So I figured I got.
But that fund should definitely be geared to that 25% matching grant, that and our hours, and then the gate stuff will probably be.
Yeah.
So 10% is 5,000, so that's $15,000 worth of.
Right, and
In
the
kind.
in-kind for the parking was like 20,000 or something. It came to like 21 or 22.
Right, so we should, I don't think we'll have an issue doing matching in kind.
Well, the issue would be the timing, right? Making sure that if we do, can the parking happen? Because our grant contract time period will be through December 2024. No, 2023. Oh, wait. Is it 2024?
It gotta be 24 because the funds haven't been released yet.
Yeah, I know. It's like taking 3 months to do the contract.
But it's a 2-year period.
I thought it was 3. I could be wrong, but I didn't think it was 1.
It's definitely not 3, but I thought.
I agree with Tom that I thought it was at least 2.
Well, you can agree all day long.
Whoa.
Ugh.
Oh, it is. Okay, good. It is 2024. Oh, that's nice.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that eases the burden a little bit, just because I was thinking the end of next year. Oh, good.
Yeah, because
Thanks,
next year should be, hopefully next year we do a lot of construction.
Now,
Now I want to get it all done.
in terms of in-kind, what kind of labor can this committee perform that will be considered in-kind?
It can be pretty significant. So labor, so related to the entire so related to this, just the grant piece, like, our time, we're not going to be doing the fence or any of that stuff, right? So it's really good. It's just going to be site visits, planning, that type of stuff will be our in-kind support. When, if we were building the trail on the other side, it could be actually the manual work of building, because there is
Right.
a wooded
Which
trail
there was
work.
probably a little bit of manual work on the other side, trail work.
Yeah, there could be, and you're right, we get signage, remember, we're developing the signage, so that's gonna take a lot of time, and then we may help Blaze, that will be probably some of our time.
What about project management? Are we going to get a project manager for this or what?
Well, we do have technically a project manager, so with multiples now. We will ultimately be in charge, but we did budget hours for the contractor vendor that we worked with, that Tom and I met. His name was Dick O'Brien, Conservation Works. So I did reach out to him, let him know that we got the grant, and confirmed his availability and interest in continuing to work with us. And it was a yes and a yes. So that's great. So he will help us do, I kind of see his role, like we'll talk to him about the entire project, and he'll give us advice along the way, but I could see most of his hours really being about the boardwalk and the bridge, that whole process. So he's got years and years of experience building trails. The whole organization does, working in, you know, with conservation land. So really a great asset, I think, and they'll have a lot of good advice for us. So we should, you know, include a kickoff meeting with him, and that time can be considered also the in-kind support. So does that answer your question, Will?
Yeah, I was just kind of grasping at anything that we can use for our matching kind of contribution, right?
We're not gonna have a problem, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. Even if we just did, if parking could align in the same way, that's $20,000.
Right, exactly. And the crosswalk was like 5,000, so I mean, in our hours and stuff is gonna be a few thousand, so I don't see any issues once we start kicking this in.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, I think you had mentioned at one point, Kat, that there were a lot of different documents that you had gotten from Mass Trails, I guess. Is there any SCUT work that we can help you with, or you know, that we can do?
I appreciate that. So phase one was mostly just getting it organized for Mark Purple and Brian Valentine and Carla to fill out their paperwork. So that was all taken care of. They were pretty swift. I sent it out to them last Thursday. They got it back to us by Tuesday, which was very wonderful of them. And then our next phase will be, there's a grant agreement. So we'll have to review that, and Mark would sign that as well. I'm assuming legal is going to want to look at it. So we'll have that, but I don't know. There is a grant initiation meeting, and I think it may be valuable if any one of you want to attend that meeting.
Sure.
Hey, Catherine, is it you or Gobbly? Is it just me and my reception?
No,
It's,
no, you're
I'm-
right. We are
I
not
think
able
she's
to
speaking
hear.
Star Wars now.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
No,
Lot of feedback, and some, when you speak, is it as if you are like in a different voice? Right, exactly.
Let me
Nope.
No,
there you
you're
are,
better.
you're
Now it
back.
is good. Now it is good.
no, it's.
Don't
it's-
move.
Yeah, don't move.
just stay right here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Happens again, then I can switch to phone. Okay, so we'll try it. So yeah, so they said that these grant initiation calls are like a lunch and learn over Teams, Microsoft Teams. So it may be at an inconvenient time, and I apologize, but I'll get her to give us a couple times, and we'll go with majority, whoever can attend, if that works, right? If she'll allow us to record it, I'm a big record our meetings, then that would be fabulous, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of information coming and going, and then we'll just we'll have that recording as a kind of a reference material. So that's the next step. And then I also asked her, and this will be at the same time, you know, she said we could merge the meetings and give us feedback on the grant application, so that we understand, you know, maybe why it didn't qualify for regional, and if there's any ways we could have improved our application, just so we take away that information for our next time around. So I'll let you know what she says about.
Okay, is there any time tracking or any other activities like that that need to start happening?
Not yet. We can't, they're very firm on this. You do not start tracking time yet until they say go, until the grant agreement is signed. So we're still not there, but we're
And-
close.
And in this case, they is the trails people?
Mass Trails,
Mass
DCR.
Trails, okay.
Yep.
How that time tracking translate into the in kind?
How does it translate into?
Yeah.
So basically, we'll come up with either a spreadsheet that we'll be using, some sort of automate, some sort of tool. We'll all track our time and then submit it. We have to do like regular reporting, things like that. So there's a worksheet, Sati, and there's a statewide volunteer hourly wage. Like I think it's $32. We're general. That's the general wage. It's not for specialties. We're not specialty people, but if we did have special expertise, there's a different rate for them. Anyway, so then that number gets translated into the worksheet that they provide, and the calculations magically boom.
So
Okay.
once, Catherine, I don't mind taking over the accounting part of the hours and all that stuff. And we could talk about, do we need hours to be signed by each participant, and I can keep all that. I'll do all that.
Yeah, they provide some worksheets, and there are the progress reports have to be signed by the contract manager. And I just confirmed that I'm allowed to sign those documents. We'll go through, to your point. Thank you for your help with that, Tom. We'll go through and figure out what our process needs to be. I know that time tracking can be tricky. I work for a consulting firm, and we track to the 5 minutes. So
No, we're not doing that.
we're not going to do that.
To the 5
But-
minutes?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, you should have become a
5
lawyer.
minutes. 5 minutes adds up, and if you add it up every day, every week, every year, you got a lot of money.
So talking about the specialty thing, so if the Mass Trail grants Mass Trail conference is there, right? So if somebody learns how to handle the chainsaw, would it mean that you have a special skill or something like that? What does it mean to have a specialty?
I would imagine they're going to give us what a specialty person is versus a channel one.
Yeah,
a little
By
guideline.
conservation agents, if she tier hours, things like that.
You're acting up again, Catherine.
Are we done with the select board in terms of getting money from them?
Yes, we are.
Good.
Am I still garbled?
Nope, you're good now.
You're good.
I wonder if
And,
it's my phone. Every time I touch my phone, it gets better. So I'll move it.
Okay.
Magic. Yeah, we're done with the select board. We've secured all the cash that we're going to get, which is nice. And then
We did get a lot of, I mean, I won't say belittle, but we did get a lot of funding.
we did.
We did
We-
get a good chunk.
Yeah, we were really lucky, and I think the timing, it was just this beautiful universal thing that kind of came together, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
What about other sources of labor organization like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts?
So
things like
we
that.
are going to be contracting with, and we have them on the schedule. We're on the schedule already for spring 2023. It's the Student Conservation Association. They're going to help us put together the bridge kit and the boardwalk. And then there may be some Boy Scout work when we do the trail, building out the earth section, the natural section of the trail. And there may be some Boy Scout projects with the bog bridges that we're putting in before we get it. The bog bridges are between the boardwalk and the footbridge. So there may be some opportunities there. And if we're installing, I don't think we're gonna use a Boy Scout or Girl Scout or a Scout to build a kiosk. I think we're paying for that. So I think that won't be a necessary thing. But yeah, there's some opportunity for that. It's a little premature to say when we'll be able to execute those types of things, because we have to. So for the boardwalk and bridge, we have to go through the bid process because of the cost. So that will be something I think we can gear up for. Once we get the contracting in place, our focus will be the fence. Will be the, spending the money on the Mass Trails grant. So
Mm,
No,
I spoke to Any Fence, the contractor, and they're still on board. So glad. He is Jim, the contractor that we met, Tom, is looking at the quote again. And he doesn't think it's going to go up in price, which is wonderful to hear. And he doesn't think he needs another site visit, but he wanted just to reevaluate it and make sure it was in good order. And they need about 6 weeks lead time to get started. So if we get contracting in the next month finalized, then it is potentially possible to have that work done this early winter, like before the
Right.
ground freezes.
before the conference, and you're talking about the trails agreement, right, from the MOA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we're gonna run into Christmas, so I don't, at the holidays, we're gonna mess things up. So it's not the end of the world if we don't get that fence in until spring, but I would love to go ahead because then we can just shift our focus to the next, and so the fence will go in and the signage can also happen simultaneously. So we need to start thinking about what we want to see on the signage, how many signs we had anticipated, and those types of things. And we need to talk to DCR confirming the gate moving the gate, even though we have talked to them before. We'd want to reconfirm that we're good and also touch base with them because I had mentioned this before, they were considering updating that gate anyway. So is there some share the pain here? And maybe if they were going to update the gate anyway, they would
Do it now.
they would do that. And then we would focus on the riser shaft fence and,
Right.
it might be a good thing. So we'll see.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah.
now you had
So-
mentioned the
Now we have an
Conservation
echo.
Corps.
Yeah.
Do they come out and like camp here or no? They do?
Yes, so they usually camp at the site that they work at, so they obviously can't camp across from the dam. But I touched base with Knobscott in North Framingham. There's a Eagle Scout, there's a Scout camp, a Boy Scout place, and there's cabins there, and it's perfect. So I spoke to them, and we put in money in the budget for the ARPA funding to pay for that lodging. It was like just over 3,000 or something like that for a number of scouts. So actually to that point, it's going to kind of be hard to gauge because we've got the bid process and how long that takes, and then we don't know exactly when the students are coming out. And so being able to reserve something with the Boy Scout camp, is going to be kind of hard to do in advance, this far in advance, but I will keep that on top of mind because I think they probably book up. So
No,
we'll
you
see.
had mentioned $3,000. What is that for and to whom does it get paid?
Yeah, so I had called them to get an estimate, called them as in Knobscott camp, I'll call it, and asked them for what their estimate was for lodging, to rent a cabin for 10 days, and that's where it came from.
Okay, $3,000 to rent a cabin for how many people?
It's not one cabin, it's like a group of cabins. for-
Oh, okay.
Or it's like a bigger cabin for like 10 days. Let's see. did I put-
For 10 people or something?
Yeah, something like that. And it might be up to, I forget if it's
Okay,
in another budget file. I have my grant budget, but not my ARPA budget open.
and they take care of all their food and everything?
I don't know what they do about food. I don't know.
Maybe they
Um,
don't use food.
Maybe they don't eat, you're right. Okay, this is something different too. Here we go. Oh, 10 days student, yeah. Cabins at Knobscott Scout Reservation, Sudbury, 2,000. Okay, that's what I estimated. So, yeah, we'll have to, there's gonna be some logistics that I need to work out. That was kind of quick and dirty, given the time frame of everything. Does that answer that question? Okay, great. Okey doke. So that's, I kind of jumped ahead, Sati. So we kind of took care of the number
Mhm.
7 Mass Trails grant,
Yeah,
contracting.
yeah, I noted that down. No
Okay.
problem.
So yeah, so I think that's moving along nicely, and then, so we get through contracting, and once we get our grant agreement, then we can go. And I think but go means like, we'll go ahead and start putting the fencing in, the fence, and start getting that on the schedule, do the signage, but then we also want to meet with, and I want to do this in pairs at least, or as many people want to be involved in this part. But we have the procurement, the bid process and things like that. That's kind of a complicated process. So if we can get a couple of people that are going to sit in on those meetings and understand what's happening, so it's not just one, in case something happens to one, all the knowledge doesn't go away. So I'll keep you posted, but Melanie from the town is being trained in that. And then Mark is the procurement officer, so he'll be involved. And I'm interested in getting as much of it we can in writing, just to ensure like there's no confusion, because I think we have to be careful about not splitting a project into separate mini bids. You know, you may have heard, you know, certain projects are flagged as like you have to bid that in whole, but then there's some people that will split a project into little mini projects and kind of get around the procurement process, and that's not what we're doing. But I just want to make sure we're all on the same page with Melanie and Mark. And I talked to Vanessa, who's also very experienced with the procurement process, that our project isn't one project that goes out to bid, right? Our project actually consists of smaller projects, like the fencing has to be done by a fence contractor. The signing has to be done by the sign contractor. A fence contractor doesn't do both, right? You're never going to find that in a vendor. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that the project has to be bid in a certain way, because it's just the natural way of the world.
But we're not looking for a general contractor.
No, we're looking for example, what has to go to bid because it exceeds the 50,000 threshold is the fiberglass bridge and the boardwalk.
But for instance, other aspects that don't exceed that dollar figure do not have to go out to bid.
Right.
Okay.
But sometimes people will look at a project and say, well, that's just one big project. That whole thing has to go to bid. And I want to avoid that, because we're not doing anything wrong but I just want to make sure we're all on the same page, because it was just something someone said once, and you know, oh, the whole thing will go to bid, and it's not quite that way. And Vanessa confirmed that it does make sense that, you know, when you look at a project like this, you understand that you have to have separate contractors and not everything. And we already have 3 bids, you know, the fencing doesn't exceed the 50,000. So we already have our 3 bids for that, and can produce those quotes. So we should be in good shape. But yeah, I'm excited to get going, and I hope that it's going to be good. We did receive an inquiry from a neighbor. So this is kind of good that it's come up, because we had a listening session. You may recall, it was new to you, weren't quite with us then. Before town meeting of 2021, we did a listening session on the Peninsula Trail and invited the public. And we did an outreach effort to those who abut the trail the closest to the Peninsula Trail. There's 7 houses there. So, and one of the houses has like their yard literally comes up to the road, and there's no shrubs or anything, it's just wide open. So it was that neighbor that contacted us and just inquired about the opening of the trail, concerns about privacy, things like that. So I shared with her the letter, and it's not a funny story, but she moved in April of 2021, and that's when the letters went out. But they went out probably, and it went out to a previous homeowner, so it just got caught right in that transition. So she didn't receive it. But she was really kind and grateful, you know, that we had put in the budget for some plantings to go there, based on what the homeowner would want. So she was going to speak with her husband and see what he thought. And so then I think I spoke with Tim Davis about this. We should go ahead and actively reach out to the other neighbors, the closest neighbors for now, and let them know that this, you know, the trail is open. And, let us know if they have any concerns or questions. That we were, considering putting a buffer up, and we're looking for some feedback or, thoughts on what the neighbors want, so that they understand we're trying to make this as comfortable for them as possible, and recognizing their yard and their privacy is important to everybody. And so there was a concern. She said, yeah, someone rode a motorbike through her yard into the trail. It's not funny, but so I did share. I was like, I'm sorry that happened, but we don't allow motorized vehicles on the trail. So, that's going to be more of a, and you talk to your neighbors type thing. But she did make a good point that, will people park on Meadow Lane and she doesn't want them walking across her yard. So I never really thought people might do that. So that's a really good point to make sure if there's any additional signage that we need on Meadow Lane, something, it just depends.
Because
on
it's
what-
all private property. You cannot get from Meadow Lane to the trail
Right.
without going across someone's property. So I don't know if I mean, you're getting to a point where now that's, people trespassing. That's out of
Right.
our jurisdiction.
It is. So, and she recognized that as well. But
We will
I
not
did,
encourage it. And like I said, I think once we have the greenery there,
Yeah.
it'll discourage it, but it is very all open over there.
yeah, it is. So I'm glad we put in money for the plantings, and I think that might be a good,
Yep.
a benefit to everybody. And just so it's on our radar, we did speak with a builder, who's building a house in that same area. And he's going to put somewhat of a development. So there's going to be a few other houses built there. And he is looking to donate some land that would actually be, could serve as additional parking. So for that inside neighbor, I don't know if I think it might be off of Meadow Lane or down one of those roads. I'm not quite sure. I haven't seen a map yet. But he, would like to donate to the town an easement so that people could park in this paved area and walk. They could access the trail. So that would actually solve some of her concerns, but also open it up to have a little more parking. And you could probably think it might, yeah. I don't know that it won't create a loop, but anyway, so it was very interesting. I'm going to reach out he came to the hike. And so I'm going to reach out to him and see. He has to go in front of planning and open space in the coming months, but that sounds like a great opportunity to get a little more parking.
But it goes against what that lady was asking. Now you're gonna have people parking on Meadow Lane.
Well, no, I think what he was proposing is there is something already paved. Some whatever he's working with already has some pavement or something. It's hard for me to describe because I haven't seen it and I don't know what it looks like. But he said it's not going to be someone parking on the side of the street. He said it was the way it was set up, that he would be donating it and that there'd be a little parking off to the side or something. So,
All right. I mean, we are open to that.
yep. So that sounds good. So I think that's all there is for updates there. Heritage Day recap. So I thought, thank you, Will and Tom, for coming, and Sati, I'm glad you didn't come because you would have been exposed. So yeah, I thought it went really well. What did you guys think?
Very good.
Thought
Very
it
good.
went great. You said you had gotten 62 people.
That was the highest number of signups we've received to date. So that was huge success. And part of that was driven by the promotion that we had.
Signed up for what?
The distribution list, the e-alert.
Oh, okay.
So usually we run it, like the first year, I think we got like 36, and maybe the next year we got like 24, something like that. So it was really successful. And then I just asked Jay Montijo for the list for our distribution list to see where we're at with stuff. Oh, it didn't tally right, darn it. And so we now have like 250 something people on our distribution list for just the e-alert, which is great. And so that's up from I think we've had 70 new ones, 62 of the ones I added from the Heritage Day. And then the others were just organic add-ons. So that's good to know that we have that list. And then we also hit 600 followers for Facebook. So that's another success. So I think that promotion went really well.
Yeah, I think it went great. You didn't contact all 62 people about possible COVID, did you?
No, I called the Board of Health, the Southborough Board of Health, and asked them for their recommendation. They said they don't consider outside events close contact. So there was no need to. Yeah, but I did follow protocol and check in. But yeah, so I think if we were to do this promotion again, I did follow up with the select board and during office hours and talk to them about the legality of it, because I had spoken with the ethics commission and they had no issues with this promotion, the way we were framing it, getting businesses to donate gift cards, and the town council had no issues with it. So I would like to continue to look for ways that we can engage businesses in the correct way and get donations as needed. And I know that there's some resistance to that. So I want to continue to work work with the select board and those who are in opposition of us doing that, because it is completely legal. So I think it's important. We're missing an entire group of organizations, businesses in town that could provide, could supplement projects and things like that on an ongoing basis, small things here and there. And that saves the taxpayer dollars not having to come out of our budget or other funding from the town.
Could you just explain if a business wanted to give us, some money or something in kind, what vehicle do they use to make that contribution?
So they would donate to the town of Southborough through the select board and just give that, it's in the name, it's for the Trails Committee. So they would just have to say that, and then it would get approved from the select board. So, so.
Yeah,
That's that.
are at select board meetings. They have someone that gave $500 to the ambulance fund. People give it all the time like that, but the select board has to accept it and they can say where they want the money to go to.
Okay. The reason I ask is that the Rotary Club did we did a fundraiser for Youth and Family Services, but the money had to flow through the Friends of Youth and Family Services. And so that was how that went.
But Rotary, I don't understand why necessarily, because
I'm not sure about it either, to tell you the truth. That's the way that it got handled.
well, see, that's what I'm referring to. So they kept wanting us to go through, and they asked us to, they asked the Trails, the Friends of Recreation to accept the donations on our behalf, but they didn't have to, right? That's what I'm getting at, is like, we have confirmed, and I understand there's a precedent thing in town that we don't want to break a precedent or set a precedent that's going to open a negative door for other people. But I think I've been given misinformation for years that we can't ask for donations, but we can, as long as the company that you're working with, it doesn't have business before us, right? And so I think, there are some that may say, no, you just can't do that, but I believe you can. And so I'm not going to ruffle feathers, but I'm not going to also go with the no when there's a yes out there.
Yeah, this what I'm referring to was last spring at the food truck events that the Rotary Club sponsors.
Yeah.
And our understanding at that time was that the money had to be handled through Friends of Youth and Family Services. So sort of, an organization like Friends of Recreation.
Right. Yeah. So we'll continue to knock on that door until the door is either open or no longer available. But I think it's a missed opportunity to not be able to businesses. Okay, so that's that. And so next is the Choate Fund 2022 grants, the hike series. So we last time or the time before had talked about doing a hike series or what we'd want or some potential dates. I also want to just share my screen quickly because I want to show pictures. So these are from the hike, but we had, this is another hike. Sorry. This, yeah. So, at Heritage Day, we had, these options for people to vote on, and don't worry about what season. It became too complicated to ask for season. But so people voted on the types of hikes that they wanted to participate in, right? And so this is forest bathing. So when we did this, there was 4 options, I believe, and so I put a sticky when they said yes. So this was forest bathing. As you can see, snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, winter walks, and winter activities is a hot topic. So people want to see that and would be interested in participating. And then nature hikes was very popular too. And the yoga on the trails. So you can see where the interest is, but they're still interested in these other forest bathing and yoga things. So I just wanted to share that little bit with you. And then we talked about a schedule and a timeline. So I had reached out to Erin Flowers, she's the forest bather, and asked her for her schedule. And so she provided a few dates that now have, since some of them have passed, she provided a couple of October dates, but then there's also in November, she provided 2 dates, November 12th and 13th. So we want to see, let's talk about like what might be reasonable for us to pull off this year without too much effort. So let me see, are you seeing, what are you seeing right now?
Yep, we see the spreadsheet.
We're seeing it.
Okay. So
Star Wars.
Yeah, you're doing it again.
Very Star Wars. I think we need Han Solo to shoot first here.
thought I was supposed to be able to go down below and look at.
I
Oh,
can hear you again.
you can? Okay.
Yes.
Let me just quickly, well, I don't want to do this yet. Okay, so let's just keep going and see if it gets better. Anyway, so the DCR conference is November 12th, right? That Saturday. So I prefer not to do a hike on that day since some of us will be at the conference, which we do need to talk about, but not yet. But Sunday, the 13th is a possibility. I have a nephew's birthday party, so I might have to skip out, but if someone else is available to kind of be a point person, we could maybe shoot for the 13th. Any thoughts or opinions on that?
We could, you're talking about the nature therapist, right?
Forest bathing, probably.
Yeah,
'cause
forest
this is,
bathing.
yeah, this is Aaron's option.
I mean, yeah, we could, I mean, I think it'd be a good time to do it.
I think it's a good weekend because it's not so close to Thanksgiving.
Right.
Yeah, good. And then the other question is that the last thing we want to try to do this year? Because really, if we, go ahead.
This calendar year?
Yeah, this calendar year.
Yes, I think you have the holidays.
It is going to get you crazy. Yeah.
Yes.
So what that means, which is fine, that most of our hikes will take place in the spring. If we do like yoga on the trails, things like that. So we'll kind of focus on a schedule for, say, I mean, we could probably start some nature hikes in March if we wanted to, like bird watching, things like that could be a nature hike. So March, April, May, because we'll be running up against the next Choke Fund grant. Not to say that we're going to go after another grant. We may not need to next year, given all of the other stuff that we're going through. So it actually might be a conscious decision. But the reason I bring that up is the timing of that grant comes out. So it's nice to kind of be winding down one before you get geared up on the other.
Hey, Catherine, with the slides that you just showed us, why don't we put something in the middle of January, maybe the end of January,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
snowshoeing, and maybe we can use the grant money to, I know we don't want to give lessons, but if we actually have someone that could guide the snowshoe that could help people's techniques or whatever.
Yep.
Hire someone to lead a snowshoeing.
Clinic.
Yeah, there you go. So I mean, that would be part of the grant money because,
Yeah, I
we
forgot about that. Yep,
one or
that's a
two
really
people.
good idea. Yep.
Or that could be like, you could say January, February. It's all gonna depend on snow.
It will. Yeah, and it's gonna be interesting because I don't know exactly until we get like a base layer of snow that we know will stay around for a couple weeks. It's gonna be pretty impromptu, but we can make that work. I forgot about that completely, the winter activities. That's true.
yeah, I mean, this sounds like one of these things we'll have to have it ready in our back pocket for weather permitting.
Yeah, so we can start finding some resources and people to work with. I
Right.
bet AMC Worcester chapter, which I belong to, the Appalachian Mountain Club, might have some good resources to refer to. So
Yep.
they're about to have their winter clinic, hiking clinic. So I'll touch base. That's great. I like that. Okay, good. And then that takes a little bit of, if we do a forest bathing hike and then the snowshoe hike, we can't really count the history hike because that wasn't a paid thing, but we can include it in our write-up just as like part of the hike series in general.
Mhm. Oh, absolutely.
On the nature hikes, do you think we could get Audubon, Massachusetts Audubon involved?
Oh, absolutely. It'd be great if they had a resource, a bird expert or somebody, because remember we do have a budget to include to buy, say, up to 12 kid binoculars. So that might be fun to incorporate because part of the target of the grant, the audience was to focus on children to make sure that our hikes are inclusive of kids.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And I guess for the forest bathing one, I mean, she did 2 in a day, and Sati and Tom, you guys were there for that. Did you get a sense that that was a good or a bad idea?
If we had the people, it's probably a good idea,
Yeah.
but if we didn't have the people, you could have combined the 2 into 1.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, do you agree with me,
thinking-
Santi?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
So,
one was geared towards children, one was geared towards adults.
yeah, I think it's fine to actually gear to both kids and adults, and like, see, she can always venture off with the kids to do something. That's what she was saying last time.
Oh,
So,
she was. Okay.
yeah, so I would go with the 1
Yeah.
and maybe extend it maybe another 15-20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And do it that way.
Children welcome.
Yep. And then we'll just make sure that she's aware that there could be some children and adults, and you might, she might have to
Okay.
accommodate children.
Great. Now, if for some reason she's not available on the 13th, should we try the next weekend? I know it's a little closer to Thanksgiving than we want to be, but it might be.
I think it'd be fine.
Okay.
I think it'd be fine. I don't know. What do you guys say?
We'll just have it as a backup.
It's okay. Yeah. 19th is okay.
Okay.
No, it'd be the 20. You're talking about the Sunday or Saturdays?
Oops. Either one.
All right.
No,
either one.
Sunday is also okay. Either.
Yeah. So either one of those weekends. We'll see if she's available the 13th. We'll do a backup for the 19th weekend.
And is someone available on the 13th? Because it's my nephew's birthday and he's a senior. And if I don't get in there, he'll never talk to me again.
Yeah, I'll be there with her. I'll go. I mean, everybody can go.
I really want to be
I'll go
there.
as well.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's not a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, and depending on the timing, we're doing a brunch or something, so I might be able to go. If we're doing this in the afternoon and the brunch is at 11, then I might be able to go because I really want to go because I missed the last one. And
Now, the 19th would be a Saturday.
Oh,
Thank
it's
you.
the weekend. We're
Saturday.
just saying the
Yeah,
weekend. not
okay,
Weekend. Yeah.
The weekend of.
right.
okay, great, awesome, thank you. Okay, so that's great. And then the next step, let's see, we've got very good news, the shed. So we had a little bit of a glitch with the, just getting the check cut. Apparently there's a process. You have to have your payables submitted by Monday, the previous Friday. So we missed the first date that it was going to be delivered. So it's getting delivered tomorrow.
Oh, what
which is
time?
great. Between 12 and 3. And if you want, I can give you a text to let you know when they're coming.
I'm gonna be around. I work from home, so I'm around.
So yeah, I'm
And
happy.
and
to
this will
give you that.
be, this will be next to the cemetery, right?
Yes, so this is
Okay.
going to be in the cemetery, and it's going to be, oh, shoot.
Behind the
There's a-
maintenance shed.
Yeah, there's a little stream there or something, isn't there?
This is-
No. If you come in by the backside on was it Middle Road,
Okay,
Yeah.
come through the new section, and it
It's right
smacks you
here.
right in the face there.
okay.
Yeah, right here. Actually, I don't know. Oh, yeah. So I don't know. DPW is going to be there to help the truck navigate through these tiny little roads.
No, they should come through Middle Road. It's the new
I-
section.
You think? I need to then ask, because I gave them Corderville Road's address, 11 Corderville Road. But I think you're right. Like, this might be easier straight shot than
Right.
any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's a good point. Maybe I'll talk to Chris Leroy. He's the contact at DPW, and see if he concurs. But yeah, so they prepped the area. There should be stone there now. It is sloped, so I do hope that they just leveled that off a little, because otherwise the thing will be.
The shed company should. That's what they did with mine.
Well, the shed company isn't doing that part. DPW did the prep for us.
And did they put down stone or something?
Yeah.
Okay,
My point was the shed company leveled it when they put it on my property and put their.
Oh, they did? How did
Yes.
they level it? Like,
They put shims and they have their own techniques and they have the levers and they have their levels.
so they don't,
Because the doors don't close unless it's level.
they don't change the contour of the property, but they put in shims to make sure that they,
Locks or whatever.
right, okay,
okay,
right.
thank you. Yeah. Yeah, and then the other thing we just need to watch out for is, because it has been moved a couple times, because it was at the Big E exhibit. We just want to make sure it's not cracked in different areas. And I asked him about it. He's like, yeah, no, we don't do that. Blah, blah, blah. So he assured me that it would be coming as a nice whole frame. So that's exciting. And what we'll need to do is, so we'll need to figure out some solar lighting. We'll need to figure out the locking mechanism and how we do that. And then there will be a need to purchase some organizational devices, wall hangings, shelves, things like that. So we'll take a look and see what we need. I'm not quite sure, and I need to check on this, but when we submitted our ARPA funding request, we put in a shed and tools. I didn't specifically say organizational, you know, I don't know what we want to call them, like stuff to organize the tool shed with shelves and things like that.
Closet organizers.
Yeah, so I don't know if that stuff's allowed under the ARPA funding and if they're that particular, but I will ask to see if that qualifies as appropriate spending under the ARPA funding. And if it does not, we can use our trails budget to purchase those items if there's any question about whether that's allowed.
Or we can procure from the transfer station.
Oh, yeah.
Organize
Well,
shelves.
I've been collecting from that recycling. Sure, I need to stop. Okay, so that's great, and we'll take pictures and let you know when that gets going. And so then we have a lot of tools that we can move in to the shed. Yeah, and so we'll just figure that out. And I think what we'll do is put a nice list together. There's no rush, but wanting to just be efficient with our time and stuff, but put together a nice list of anything else we think we need to go ahead and purchase and make that happen. And set up the shed and go from there. Any questions or thoughts on that? Okay. So then, about the trail budget, this is kind of, it works into this whole line item on number 9 where we're talking about purchases. So it's time for the town to, they're talking about budget discussions. So Tim Davis reached out and asked us if we need any change with our budget for the next fiscal year. And our current budget is 1750. So it's really hard because this is our first year, knowing how much more or less we need for a budget, and obviously we're not going to go less. So I was just going to throw out an idea and have you guys respond to it. I thought that, we have 1750 now. We want to be very sensitive that the town is undergoing, like, there's a lot of taxes, taxes are going up, costs is going up, budgets are getting reconfigured. So I think we should be very conservative. So I was thinking like maybe asking for 1850, right? But keeping it there. So that keeps it at a very low percentage of, of shifting it all. And then also just because this budget comes out of recreation, asking Tim if he's, obviously approaching him in the way he's asked us, but then asking him, does this work within your, instead of just being a declarative statement, being open to saying, having him say, maybe not this year, maybe next year. So putting it out there, what do you guys think?
Well,
Is this-
The first question on logistics, we're a standing committee. Why does our budget come out of rec?
It doesn't, well, maybe it doesn't come out of rec, but it's a line item under recreation. So
I think that's the old, that's when we were an ad hoc.
Oh, I get, you might be right, because you're right, because we were gonna get a budget anyway. You're right. Even if they didn't go to the standing committee, Tim was gonna allocate budget. So we were gonna have a budget regardless. You were correct. It doesn't come out of recreation, so there's no like ask of that. So let's scratch that.
Okay.
thing. And then back to the same thing. So we don't have to ask. We can just say it. And so what do you guys think about going to 1850 and just keeping it that way?
Well, my only comment is we have a list of things that came out to 1750. If we're gonna put down a budget of 1850, we have to itemize
justify.
that. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
well,
I think we can, go ahead.
I guess the other thing I would say is that the Public Accessibility Committee has like, I believe, $2,500 budget.
Mhm.
And I guess, if we already have a list up to 1750, I think going up to 2000 or, it might be a good idea just to build in some slack in case we determine we have more needs.
Let's just quickly, if you want, or we can do this on our own. So let's quickly go through what our 1750 came up to and find out what is not applicable anymore. So if we go to your second, the details, well,
Hang on,
our
let me just-
request was 1500.
No, it wasn't. It was 1750. And let me just see what, I'm going to stop sharing just so I can poke around a little bit. So give me just a second.
And we're talking about fiscal year 23-24 to be, and this would be voted on at the annual town meeting in the spring, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Right. And if you remember, when they post the budget, they'll show what percentage increase there is. So I'm trying to keep it at a lower number because if, people might say, well, it's your first year with a budget, why are you increasing 10-15%? Like, we really need to keep an eye on that number and keep it very low, especially in the beginning. But I was just trying to give it a little bit more, just to kind of work our way up, but not too much that, and we did get a lot of money this year, so we have to consider.
Now,
very-
our 22-23 budget, where are we in terms of exhausting that?
Oh, yeah, so no, we haven't.
Well, we better do that if we're going to ask for an increase.
Well, no, we will, but hold on. Let me just see. Oh, I think I put it under here.
Because I'm thinking we keep a level budget, but that's why I want to go through the details, because and the other thing, I know why you're doing that, Kat, is there was talk to put a line item for grass cutting for our trails to take it out of DPW.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't want to have that in our line item because it's probably gonna be really complicated and all that stuff. I think we have to be prepared with the new DPW. If they take our trails cutting and it has to be out of our budget and it goes into their budget.
Well, no, yeah, so I wonder though if we could, so that's actually a really good point about that. Hold on, I need to just do.
I mean, do we need to discuss it at this? So if you want to
Yeah,
distribute,
because it's due by the,
okay,
it's due by the, early sometime in November. So you just give me a second. I just wasn't quite prepared to talk full budget, but I think this is a good conversation to have. So give me a second. This would have been last. Because it came up more than, I brought it down to 1750 because we took out some other stuff. I just wanted to be conservative our first year, because everyone is very sensitive.
So we had a fiscal year 2022, 2023 budget of 1750.
Yes.
Okay.
let's see, let's see if I actually have a copy of it too. My
Yeah,
trail
thank you.
folder.
Oh, revised. That's it. Okay, good. I found it.
Oh, there you are.
It's not sharing.
No,
Okay, are you guys seeing it now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so it actually, the estimate came at 1577 and I upped it to 1750 to just be a little bit of a buffer. So we can look at the details in just a moment, but the higher level thing, trail maintenance, improvement and supplies, 442, that would be a little higher the first year, but remember now we have some ARPA funding. Education and skill building, that's kind of like the Trails Conference, by the way. We can all go to the Trails Conference. It costs $45 if you're interested in going on the 12th of November. Is anyone interested?
Yes.
Okay, that's Will and I registered.
Yes,
Safi? Oh, wonderful.
yes.
it's a weekday, right?
It's a Saturday.
Oh, okay. I would have to check, but that could work for me too.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can all go if we have the budget for, is what I'm saying. It only happens every 2 years. So it's not like they're going to do another one next year. So, and there's a lot of great sessions they generally have. There are some, I sent everybody the link. So if you want to take a look, it's kind of like a week-long process. They'll have some virtual events. They'll have some hands-on training. Now, they didn't really have any great hands-on training, like they built a trail one year and I went to that. They have chainsaw safety. I don't know if anyone's interested in that. I'm personally not, but that some of that costs more money. So if you are interested, let me know. I spent an extra $10 to apply. So I went to 2 different, I think one's an in-person, which is how to create it was a self-guided hike, like how to create a self-guided hike walk on your trail. And then another one was trail accessibility for all people and ages and abilities. So that was a virtual event and didn't cost money. So there's a couple of ancillary sessions if you want to take a look. Those are during the week. They're harder to attend for us, but you're welcome to explore that. So that's good. So if you want to go ahead and register, I would encourage you to do that. And you need to save your receipts, please. And you will, I think I put in an email what you need to do. You'll have to submit a credit card statement that shows that charge, the receipt itself, and you want to redact any of your information. Don't send everything, just redact it. And then we submit that to Tim for reimbursement. So we will each get a check for that. So that's how that works. So anyway, that's that. And then maps and signage 300, outreach promotion 215, and administrative 300. So that's what came up to here. And the details here, this is kind of just some, the signpost tools, things like that. That's why so our tool budget again is not going to be that every year necessarily. Here we have, the conference, There is also like an American Trails annual membership that we might want to explore. We did that one year. They have a lot of webinars and resources on trail building. We might want to look into other resources like that so that we have, you know, a lot of those webinars will be recorded so you can listen to them at your convenience. You know, just kind of some stuff like that. So yeah, and then Outreach Heritage Day. Now we did save money and we can continue to save money with enough warning. You know, Recreation printed those maps that we gave out. So we didn't have to go to FedEx and print those. So that was a cost saving mechanism. And I did confirm with Tim that that's okay to do. And it's better to use the in-house resources than external resources in cases like that. So yeah, so some of the bigger ticket items like the t-shirts I had taken out, Tom, because I just no, but I'm just saying we could, you know, put them, you know, back in, or, you know, have a smaller group of t-shirts, but, you know, anyway, like a smaller amount of t-shirts.
So this was actually in the budget. This is approved.
No, this one in the original, so it's one-time expenditures.
You're going.
Star Wars.
Yeah, we're losing you again.
Okay, is that any better?
That's better.
Yes.
Okay, so there's some one-time budget expenditures that got us to 29.5, right? And then the annual estimated expenses were like 1,100, right? So the one-times brought it up higher than it was going to be on an annual basis. So that's where I came up with this little guy. So if we think 1750 should be our number moving forward, we can. We could probably easily get it to 1850 without a lot of questions and be able to, you know, work with these numbers to make that happen. What do you think?
No, that includes buying implements of destruction, right?
This does include some tools of destruction, but remember our ARPA money from the 12.5
Right.
is set aside to buy tools as well.
Our budget should not have anything with tools in it because that is going to be flagged and it should be flagged.
What?
Oh,
I don't think our budget should have any tools. We have ARPA money. We have this 22-23 money for tools and stuff. Why are we continuously asking for tools? Don't we have?
Oh,
enough?
no. Yeah. So you're saying going forward, we're not going to have a huge tool budget each year. I agree.
Correct. We should have
Yeah.
zero in the tools budget because we
We've
have
got
so
no
much
tools.
money
I don't
to
know.
spend.
I don't know if it's zero, right? It's just going to be really smaller, much smaller. Because one year we might decide that we need to do, this is just an example, we might need to do some rock work, right? We're going to install a rock bridge, a rock staircase in the town forest, and we need a rock net, right? So a small, like one-off thing like that you might need from time to time. But I agree with you, the bulk of our tools would be purchased with the.
But with that, we have to spend this money. It goes back into the general fund. So our budget, if we're gonna put stuff for exactly like you said, we have to budget for the year and then implement it and install it that year. So.
Yep.
I'm just afraid that we keep on asking for things and we have money. And if we have something that says tools, that'd be the very first flag that I would be. If I
Oh,
was,
so yeah, so I hear you, but I think so this was our first year budget and we didn't have any ARPA money or any money at all.
No, I think this is fine. I'm talking about
Yeah.
23.
So you're
24.
saying moving forward, this number is going to have to, it's not going to be the same number it was the first year.
No,
And then it's going to be a much smaller number. So we may consider not moving our needle this year, keeping it 1750, and then
then we're gonna substitute $442.50 with $442.50 of volunteer t-shirts. We're gonna start advertising the Trails Committee to everybody that wears a t-shirt around.
something. Let me ask you something. You're worried about flagging with tools. I'm worried about flagging with t-shirts. Are you sure taxpayers are going to be okay if we buy t-shirts and give them out with their
I
money?
don't know. We can always just say, why are you doing this? Because we want to advertise the trails. We want to recognize the people that did a lot of manual labor. And if they cut it out, they cut it out.
I'd like to put those t-shirts on our associate members in 2023. That's what I'd like to do. Okay, so I think we're going to keep it the same.
Yeah, 1750. I think we keep it a zero increase. That's my vote.
That I just
Um,
didn't want to miss out on the opportunity to get a little bit higher, but
We lost you again. You gotta go closer to your laptop.
I'm fine with that.
Are we ever interested in sending out like paper flyers to every address in Southborough?
Not a whole lot,
Okay,
because of the tree burning, just the whole unsustainability. But I think from time to time, like, to your point, Will, like if we were doing a big push at town meeting, that would have come in handy, right? But I believe, do you remember the when the ARPA committee wanted to do that, it cost something like $2,000.
no, I don't think it does. I just heard that the post office now has like 19 cents per door kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if Southborough has like 2,000 doors, you're looking at like $400.
Yeah, but it was definitely more when the select board, when that was brought up to the select board. For
Mm,
ARPA, 'cause they
I
wanted
think
to
that was
split
high,
it.
but okay.
Yeah, it is high. But yeah, I mean, I think on occasion we could do that.
All
as
right,
needed.
I'm just, there are lots of different, avenues for
Yeah.
this. What about, we're going to get into trail maintenance. Is there any, like, somebody bringing in an industrial strength brush cutter sometimes for various trails?
Yeah, so I think that's a really good point. I think we should buy a brush cutter, a handheld brush cutter, and get trained to use it personally. It will help. That little gate right at the fence at the
Yeah,
gate.
that was a nightmare.
It
that was
was,
just a
and I got
nightmare.
poison ivy from that little thing. Yeah, that needs a brush cutter, and that's what AMC used when they were here. And
Well,
you know,
I'm thinking the entire segment of trail that goes up that hill where the Boy Scouts built it. I mean, that's going to get overgrown every year, right?
I'd like to put some sort of thing down on that. That's actually a really good point. Like I'm already finding things that we can purchase with our budget, like, something to put on top of that trail so that the grass isn't growing.
Yeah,
Things
but
like
there
that.
are other segments of trails around that, they're gonna grow up every year, and
Yeah.
having something like that would be really handy.
Could we contract, for example, another option, could we contract with J&J to add one mow or two mows to the open channel,
What is a
right? If-
mow?
A
You're
mow,
talking about
like
Ward
mowing the
Road?
trail.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
off of Ward
okay.
Road. Yeah, right. So right now,
Yep.
DPW has a J&J contracting. So we could either go to DPW and say, can you add two mows to open channel in your budget now? And if the answer is no, then can we do that out of our budget? I forget what they charge. I'll have to ask again. I'll see Chris tomorrow. I forget what he charges per mow to do what he's doing now in town. And what the total number is. I'd like to get that number again, just to have it. But that's something that would come out of that could come out of our budget if it didn't come out of DPW's budget. Two mows in here, something like that. That would easily justify some of that tool money, Tom.
Oh, yeah.
Trail improvement.
My biggest
now-
point is, we can put the money in the budget, just I don't want the word tools to appear there for next year's budget.
Yeah, I see trail maintenance improvement and supplies.
Yeah. I know, I'm just saying, once they dig
Yeah.
into it, what's the money for? And
Yeah.
we can't say another piece of equipment.
Okay, so are we sticking to 1750 or do now we want to go to 1850 now that we've thought of some things like the mowing and things like that might be?
Well, the mowing stuff is to be determined if DPW doesn't want to put it in their budget. If they don't,
Right.
then we put it in it and our budget goes up really high and we put down mowing. I mean, I would keep it at the 1750, and if they come back with no, you have to put in your budget, we put in our budget. And if the town says no, then we can say the complainers that always complain about the grass too high, you know. Sometimes we have to, put it out there for people to know that. So
Right.
Yeah.
I would see what DPW wants to do.
Yeah, let me see if they would be open to adding to, I also have to check with MWA. I mean, I'm assuming MWA would have no issues with them mowing if DCR has no issues with.
Right. And see what
So,
the cost is for that.
But that's good. I would definitely like to get two of
I
those.
would
So
put that in, I think if we have to pay MWRA or DCR to do the mowing because they do not allow, like J&J, Jay's Mowing or whatever they call that place. We put that in our line budget and let the town vote if it's important for them to keep that trail nice and short.
Yeah,
Well, one other question would be, now that we're gonna, close the Burrows Loop Trail, or at least the best we can, right? Is there a standard that we have to keep the trail mowed to be considered part of the Burrows Loop Trail?
I mean, no, other than the understanding that you have to maintain your trail.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, but I mean, if they're saying that we have to maintain our trail to a certain level, then if that's going to cost money, and the town doesn't, well, we should tell the town that, right?
Unless we are doing ADA compliance, otherwise I don't think there is.
Yeah, I don't think
Yes,
that's,
I mean-
it's a loose collection of towns with that loop. I don't think
Okay.
there's any meat behind it.
Okay,
great. All right, so that was good. So I'll talk to DPW if they are open to it, then we stay at 1750. If they're not, then I need to get an estimate of what it would cost, and then we have to consider that. I'm concerned, I don't want to go over, well, we might just have to reallocate some of our funding to mowing and keep it still at 1850.
Well, let's see what the money is and then we can.
Well, I have to know probably before our next meeting, right? So we're not going to meet again before Tim needs the number.
So the
we can
numbers
have-
you're looking for is how much DCR will charge to mow that side of the
DPW.
open channel, one, and
Or
number two,
JM.
how much would DPW charge to do additional mowing on the trails that they currently mow?
Well, so DPW doesn't do any of the mowing, they contract with J&J. And
That's
I
what
don't
I
know
meant.
that,
That's
yeah,
what
I
I
don't
meant.
know that we need more mowing on J&J's part. They do it 4 times a year. I haven't, do we think they
But-
need?
but it sounds like we need that number. If they're going to move it out of their budget, then we need that number that they're currently
They're not
spending.
moving it. in the budget.
No, they're not moving it. So
So the
Captain,
question is, will they add 2 more mows to, the strip on the open channel, the open,
you're getting into now DCR, MWI maintain land, and now you're asking the town to pay J&J to do
they do
mowing
it now. They do it now.
on the open trail off of Ward Road.
They do it from Lattisquama, from actually Route 30 all the way to Deerfoot, like to Parkerville. Yeah, they do that on DCR land. We pay for it.
And
maintain-
that's done
Or
by
agree-
DPW, Department of Public Works.
No, the contract is managed by DPW,
It's the one and the
But
same,
it-
DPW,
con-
J&J, it's the same.
but it's not, it's an independent contractor.
I know,
They-
I know.
Okay,
But-
but you're shortcutting it. I get it. Okay.
But is DPW going to say, we're going to take that out of our budget?
They do currently.
No,
But
they-
I'm sorry, are they going to move it into our budget?
No. There has
All right.
not been talks about that. yet.
Okay,
So I understand it now, Captain. I thought that DCR or MWRA would not allow a town subcontractor to cut that grass off of Ward Road, but you're saying they will.
They might, right. We haven't asked them, but if DCR lets us do it on all the rest of the trails, then why wouldn't MWA?
So I
Right?
guess there's 2 things we're gonna find out. If they're okay with that, extending what the
Yeah.
town currently mows.
Yep.
And then asking whoever at the DPW. Because
Yeah.
now we're gonna go from, what's that, Johnson Road, underneath the highway, across the footbridge, and then all the way to the Marlboro line.
Yep.
And then come back. So I think that's what, maybe a mile?
Yeah, so from the road to the intersection of Westbrook, where the trail goes into the woods, that's about 0.7 miles. So I think you're right. The total would be about a mile.
Okay, I'm good with that.
And so I think if we do get a yes, that they'll do it, then we don't have to move our budget. But if we do need to add budget, then I still don't want to go higher than, I don't want to go to 2,000 yet. Is everybody on board?
no,
Because
I
our
think
percent's gonna be high. So if we go to like 1850 and we just have to reallocate our categories, are we comfortable with that, or 1900? What do you
Yeah,
guys? think?
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine. I mean, I agree with you that keeping the increase as low as possible is probably the best thing.
Right.
Yeah, given where the state of things are. Okay, so I got it. All right, so let me go off and make that. see what we can
So
do.
just so I am 100% clear, since DCR already does what, two cuttings a year?
MWA,
MWA does 2. We're asking DPW to get us a cost for 2 more.
2 more. Yeah.
Okay, cut
Yeah.
cut it.
'Cause it's, right now, it's not usable. The trail isn't usable most of the time that people want to be on it.
I
Ow.
totally agree, and yes, I totally agree. I actually was on there last weekend. It's
How
actually,
was it?
it was good.
Oh, good.
It was freshly mowed because they got rid of all the brush all the way to the open water.
They
So it
trimmed
goes
down.
all the way down, all cut and cleaned and stuff. I saw that tractor, tracks and stuff.
And
It
I'm
was good.
sorry,
It was
that's-
really good.
Yeah, good.
Which section of trail is this? Is this the one going into Westboro, Marlboro?
Yes, off of Ward Road.
Okay.
It's a great little thing. Don't tell anybody about it.
It's this town secret.
Oh, we're recorded. Shucks.
Okay, all right, and trail maintenance, nothing to update, other than there's a signpost on Ward Road that needs to be repaired. So we have to,
I was just there. I didn't notice anything.
yeah, it's the one with the map box on it, right at Ward Road. It's leaning, and if it's not leaning, it's because I propped it up, but if you touch it, it will fall over.
It's right next to the fence. I mean, the gate.
Mhm. Yeah,
I guess.
it's short. It's
notice.
kind of short, so you don't really notice it, and it may have brush grown up around it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm assuming the pole has rotted. And we do have extra poles, what are they called? Posts that we can use.
Mhm. Okay.
Get that fixed, but we should figure that out sometime soon. So that's it. Anything else that we haven't talked about that we need to?
I was going to ask you if you had been to have any talks with SOLF.
About what in particular? I've lots of.
I think when we were at the Heritage Day, there was some talk about some cooperation between the Trails Committee and SOLF in terms of trails on SOLF land.
Oh, was it connecting or something? Some
Yeah,
trail?
well, there's that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly sure what they wanted, but I thought you were going to maybe have a coffee with them or something and try and
Oh
figure
yeah,
out.
that's right. They wanted coffee. Yes, have not had that happen yet, but we
Okay.
will.
All right.
Yep, and
Because we do take care of Sulph already, the one off of
Really?
Pocketville, right next to the pike.
Yes.
That's a Sulph.
Templeman, yeah, that's
That's
Salt
good.
and Town, yeah, so. I haven't been over there in a while. Anybody been over there?
I haven't been there since early summer, I guess.
Which one is this?
This is a Templeman Watkins Loop. It's off of Route 85. It's right next to the pike. We'll have to take a walk out there. The first section is Saltland, and they have a little boardwalk that goes through some wetlands. And then it's a nice little less than a mile loop. It's about 0.8 mile. But there's a bench and there's a couple of boulders that have the plaques that representing the families who donated the land either to the town of Southborough or to Sulph, because there's 2
Yeah.
plots there right next to each other. And in the spring, you can see salamander eggs in the water. It's really cool. And there's a nice little mosquito pond that you can also see salamander eggs. But yeah, it's kind of a cute little walk.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So up next is just our next meeting. So I might put out there, so I guess the question we have is, do we want to, if we do the hike the weekend, the 12th or the 19th, do we want to meet before Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving?
Is there any reason to meet sooner?
Well, I don't know if sooner is, I'm not sure, because I'm just thinking the grant paperwork, will there be some questions or thoughts that we need to talk about sooner? Coordinating the fence vendor, it might make sense to do before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
With the caveat that if I'm wrong, we can always cancel what we have put on hold and punt it a week or two if we have to. Like if it looks like we're not going to get the grant application, is not going to be a good use of our time, and we'd be better off and better served after Thanksgiving to then talk about the fence vendor and all that stuff. That might be, we'll leave it kind of like that. Does that work?
Mhm.
Okay. So how about the week of November 13th, we can do Tuesday the 15th.
That sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
So 17, 7:30. Great. So I think that's it. And we just need a motion to adjourn.
So be it. So moved, sorry, so moved.
Second,
And that's at 9:03 Sati. And roll call, Tom McCoolier,
Yes.
Satyendra Sharma,
Yes.
Pat McKee, yes, and Will Warren.
yes.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, everyone, and great meeting, and thanks for all your help. And
Kat, I'm sending right now the minutes.
Hey, Kat, one thing you should, watch your husband. My understanding is that COVID can suddenly flare up and get very serious very quickly. So,
oh, thank you. I'll
just make sure he's not, he's not trending in the wrong direction.
What time we adjourned?
It was
9:03.
3.
9?
9:03.
9:03-ish.
9:03. Okay. Okay.
I think
All
you
right,
can
everyone.
throw in 30 seconds. All right, thank you.
Thank you all. Take care.
Bye-bye.